All right, so this week you have an assignment that is a 5-a-day language review. You have to do week 32, but I'm going to show you on week 31 right here how it needs to be done. We've done these in class before. We used to do them for morning work, and Monday, or sometimes for homework, Monday you have 5 questions, Tuesday you have 5 questions, Wednesday and Thursday you have 5 questions. Today, in this video, I'm going to go through how I need you to do and some of the examples and just explaining how Mondays and Tuesdays work will needs to be done and what some of these terms mean to help refresh your memory on those. And then I will make a new video that will be Wednesday and Thursday. All 4 of these parts, these 5 questions times 4, these 20 questions are due on Thursday. But you could do them all in one day as long as you do a careful and good job on them. Please don't rush through and do it all in one day just to be done with it and then not have paid attention to these directions in order to do it well. Another thing that I wanted to add is if you choose not to do it all in one day and you're doing it on Class Kick, the only thing you need to remember is you need to remember how you typed in your name when you clicked that link for Class Kick. So if you chose to type it in with an uppercase letter and only your first name, then you need to type it in the same way. The next time you go in, all your work will be saved on this document. If you type it in differently, like let's say you just did your first name with an uppercase letter the first time and you did Monday and Tuesday and then you got tired of it and you wanted to go do something else, so you left and you came back the next time and you typed in your first name and your last name with uppercase letters for your first 2 letters, it would think you're a different person. It doesn't know, the computer can't tell the difference between your name one way, even though it's the same name, and your name a different way with an extra word attached to it, your last name this time. It thinks you're a different person, so it's going to give you a brand new sheet to work on, so your Monday and Tuesday answers won't be there. So you need to remember how you typed your name in. My suggestion is that you type your name in the same way every single time that you do Class Kick. If you're just going to do your first name and you're going to capitalize your first letter, do it that way every single time. Don't mix up how you write your name in Class Kick, and then it'll be easy to remember, oh, I know I only ever put my first name and I capitalize it. And now I can get back to my document so I can continue. So on Monday, the first 5 questions on Monday always follow the same procedure. They always ask the same type of question. Just the words or the sentences that they ask you about are going to be different each time. So when you do number 1, it says to complete this sentence with a correct relative pronoun or relative adverb. They give you the relative pronouns and the relative adverbs here. So you just have to fill in the blank for the one that makes sense. Or another option would be to underline or to highlight the correct version of that relative pronoun or relative adverb. So that's how you do number 1. Number 2, you're going to select the correct verb tense and then identify if the verb tense is one of these 3 choices. You identify the verb tense by underlining or highlighting one of these 3 options right here: past progressive, present progressive, or future progressive. You could type the words here into the line by adding a text box. So I could say the puppy was blinking from the bright sunlight outside. When I finish typing that in, if I move away from it, I can look and I can see whether I can read those words. One of the things that I ask that you do is that you adjust this box however it needs to be adjusted so that your words aren't like that through the line, or they aren't over here where I can't read them. Take 2 more seconds, 3 more seconds, and move the box so that I can read your words. Here's another option. Here's another thing that I might need you to do. So when you click on this box and you get these little circles in the corner, that allows you to adjust the size of the box. So if you need to change it so that it it does fit in that space, then do what you need to do in order to change it. Once you have it the size that you want and it's still not fitting, then you can make your text smaller and make it fit by going up here and clicking T minus. That makes your text smaller. Okay, so because I chose was blinking, the second part of, I could have just circled was blinking down here. I could have highlighted was blinking right there, or I could have typed it in the line, which I did. The next part is I have to identify what was blinking was is past. Was blinking is in the past. It happened before. If I chose is blinking, which is another option for this particular sentence, it could work because it doesn't tell you whether the dog was outside or the puppy was outside yesterday or an hour ago, or if it was just happening while you were talking about it. So it could have also been present progressive, which means it's happening right now. Future progressive will be means it happened, it's going to happen tomorrow or is sometime in the future. Okay. Number 3, they're always asking you about this word that's in boldface. They're asking you to read these sentences and from the context clues, figure out in your own words what that word means. If I read this whole paragraph here, I would know that monotonous means boring or very dull or something that's repetitive and happening for a long time or over and over again. Okay, so I would write what I think monotonous means without looking it up in the dictionary. I'm just going to write what I think it means based on the words that are here, by the context of the word here in boldface. Okay, I do have to type something in here. You would have to get a text box and add things to the line here. Frequently confused words. So they have the words down here that you're choosing from. There's 2 choices. Sometimes the same word would be in both places. Sometimes it's one in one place, like this case, and one in the other line, on the other space. I have to type them in because there's no way for me to just select them. So you need to add a text box and put the one where it belongs. Here's another thing I want you to notice. This word then was at the beginning of a sentence. So when I typed it in on the line, I had to put a capital letter. I needed to put a capital letter here because a capital letter is always what I need when I begin a sentence. So whatever word I put there, if it's the first word in my sentence, I have to capitalize it. Number 5, they're always asking you for a synonym or a word that means the same as this word that's underlined. A synonym for the word frail is weak. If I didn't know what frail meant, I could look that word up in a dictionary and then I could figure out that the synonym or a word that means almost the same as frail is weak. Synonym means the same as or almost the same as. Number 1 on Tuesday tells you to rewrite to form a complete sentence or sentences without fragments or run-ons. Here's the key word, rewrite. I have to use these lines here to write sentences, grammatically correct sentences with capital letters and end marks when I type it in on the line. And because it's a lot of words, I had to make my text smaller to make it fit. I could have went down into the second line here, but I wanted to make it all fit on one line. So I moved my text box around and I made my text smaller, which is an option that you have once you're in that text box. You always have that option of text smaller minus, text bigger plus, okay? If I ever get a text box that I don't want, like I just did, I can just delete it by clicking that red trash can to get rid of it. Number 2 on Tuesday is asking me to choose a matching analogy. An analogy are 2 words that go together in some way. In this case, the 2 words are cheap. The analogy symbol is a colon, and expensive. Cheap and expensive are synonyms of each other. So I'm going to read the sets of words down here that are analogies because I see the colon here in between the words. I know that these 2 words are analogies. I'm going to think about which 2 words which pair out of these choices are synonyms of each other, okay? And I know when I read them that this is the correct analogy. Incorrect and wrong are synonyms, just like cheap and expensive are synonyms of each other. It's not always synonyms, so you have to figure out how these two words go together, and then you can figure out which one also goes together in the same way, okay? You're going to rewrite. Here again is the key word. You're not just adding the commas, the quotation marks here in the type that's written. You're rewriting it out with the quotation marks, with the commas that are needed, with the periods that are needed. I'm rewriting it on the lines below. Please make sure you do that you capitalize things that need to be capitalized, and you add all the quotation marks, all the punctuation that's needed for that. Number 4 on Tuesday tells you to circle the misspelled word and write it correctly in the space below. This is the misspelled word. I don't know which waist they're referring to, neither do you. You can pick one. There's 2 different spellings for the word waste. You don't have to write both of them. If you write one of them, that is good enough for me. Okay, so it can either be waste like trash, W-A-S-T-E, or waist like the thing that your belt goes around when you're wearing pants. Waist, W-A-I-S-T. Number 5 on Tuesday is always choosing an antonym. An antonym for the word that's underlined, just like number 5 on Monday was a synonym. An antonym is the opposite of. So I'm going to find a word that means the opposite of this underlined word, jagged. If I didn't know what the word jagged meant, I could look it up in a dictionary. Jagged means uneven or rough. So even is an antonym for the word jagged. Okay, I will do a new video that will explain Wednesdays and Thursdays. Please watch it before you try and do Wednesday and Thursday's work, so that you know what I'm asking for, what I'm looking for, what I need from you, so we don't have to give things back to you and you don't have to worry with doing things again. You can do it right the first time. That's always the goal.